This conference will now be recorded.
So today is the day 2 for the mobile automation with Appium, and let's recap what we have done in the day 1. So first was the demo, and in the day 1 we covered topics like this. So what is mobile testing? We covered that. Mobile platforms, iOS, Android, Windows, we have covered them. And then types of mobile apps, their characteristics and limitation. This is also covered. Now the remaining topics from this first section are these three: various approaches for mobile testing lifecycle, and mobile development lifecycle. So all these three topics we are going to cover today. So let's start today's session. So these will be the agenda will be for the today's topics will be, these approaches for the mobile testing, and then we will see mobile testing lifecycle, and at the end we will see mobile development lifecycle, some interview questions we will take, and some exercises we will also do in the class. We will try to solve some exercises in the class. So let's start. So coming to the first topic, it is various approaches for the mobile testing. What are the different approaches, when we have to do the mobile testing, how we can do the mobile testing? So we will look into the various approaches for the mobile testing. So the first approach is functional testing. When we talk about the functional testing, it means, we have to test the features or the functionalities which are available within the app. So in functionality testing, we are covering installation, right? And then we are covering login, registrations, and features which are available within this app. So features can vary from one app to another app. Like for example, if we are having e-commerce app, then feature can be to buy some stuff, right? Another feature can be make some stuff into the wish list. Another feature can be, to return some stuff, right? These are the features. So these all things are coming under the hood of functional testing. Like we are testing the features which are available within the app. So this is known as functional testing. Another important hood is usability testing. So what is usability testing? Usability testing is basically a kind of testing in which we are seeing the layouts, we are seeing the alignments, we are seeing images are okay, they are not truncated, and then we are testing the user interface with the different sizes of the screens, because in mobile, we have different kind of screens. We have tablets, we have normal mobiles. Even in the normal mobiles, the screen sizes is varying from one size to another size, right? So all these kind of things we are testing for the usability testing. Another part of the usability testing is user experience, how user is experiencing with the app. That's also very important, right? So we see what's the user behavior, what's the user reaction when user is navigating through the app, how it's feel and good, look and feel of this for this particular app. If it is good, then the under the UX testing we find that this application is from usability point of view is good. If the user experience is not good, then we can say, okay, this application is not as good from UX point of view. So another important thing is user experience, which is also known as UX. User experience means how the user total use end users experience, the total experience when he's navigating through the app, he's using a different functionality, how this behavior is. So this is also known as UX testing. So UX and UI, these are the part of usability testing. The another approach is device testing. I don't know, but somebody asked me this question in the first class also, that what is device testing and how it is different from the mobile testing, right? So device testing is nothing else but if you have a mobile app and you want to test this mobile app on different devices, that is known as device testing. Okay. So what exactly comes under the hood of device testing? Installation of the app on the different devices. So I have different devices, right? These devices can vary from from the configuration point of view, as well as from hardware point of view, as well as from operating system point of view. So for example, I have Android 9, I have Android 10, and I have Android 11. So these are three different devices. And if I want to test my app on these three different devices, then it comes under the hood of device testing. So from operating one operating system to another operating system, app may behaves differently. It's always like that, if you are visiting some website and you are opening this website or some application, either it's web based application or a desktop based application, you are opening it on Windows 7, Windows 11 or Linux. So behavior of this application may be different from one operating version to another operating version. So same thing is applicable for mobile apps also, based on the hardware configuration, based on the operating systems, and based on the versions of operating system. So in case of Android and iOS, these two are different operating system, but Android can further classified into different operating systems versions like 9, 10, or 11. So all these things are under the hood of device testing, testing some app on different kind of devices which are having different set of hardware or different set of operating system or different set of other capabilities. This is known as device testing. Another important part is performance and load testing. So this is also a very important part, performance and load testing. And when we talk about the performance testing of a mobile app, it comprises of three pillars: device performance, network performance, and server and API performance. So let's understand these three topics separately one by one. So first thing is network performance. So anyhow, this app, any particular app is working on different kind of bandwidths. It can be work on 2G, it can be work on 3G, or it can be work on Wi-Fi. So if we want to test the app on low bandwidths, high bandwidths, medium bandwidths, then it's come under the hood of performance testing of the network. So how app is behaving, you know how app is, what's the performance of the app when we are providing different statistics of the network. So that is known as network performance, right? What is under the device performance? Device performance comprises of battery consumption done by the app, because when I talking about the device performance, then we have to concentrate on basically on the hardware side. So sometimes some apps are consuming high battery and some apps are consuming low battery. Other than that, based on the hardware configuration of the operating system or the RAM which is available in the operating system, app may behave differently. So that's why from device point of view, device performance point of view, these things are very important. Battery consumption, application behaviors on different kind of RAM which are available, or different kind of hardwares which are available. And the third thing is server or API performance. So when we are talking about some apps, so we have a front end, right? Here we have a front end, and in the front end there can be lot of things or lot of features which are driven by the APIs. For example, you have a app, okay? This is the front end of the app, or in the front end you have a text box, or uh, forget about the text box, but a kind of a layout which displays you current date and current temperature. So it shows you it's 10 degrees centigrade and the current date is 0411. So from where these informations are coming? These informations are coming from different kind of APIs which are being consumed by this app. So when we talk about the server or API performance, it means the features of the app which are using the APIs. We have to find out the performance of those APIs, because when they are integrated with this app, the whole system, the whole ecosystem, when this whole ecosystem is made, in that way we have to see what are the response timing and what is the performance of this APIs when they are integrated with the app. So that come under the hood of server or API performance. So it's also sometimes frequently asked questions by the interviewers, that if you want to test the mobile performance, so forget about from performance tester point of view or automation point of view or manual point of view, it's a very general question, so it can be asked by someone, anyone. So they will just ask, if you want to test the performance of the mobile app, what are the three different indicators that will indicate the mobile performance? So you have to tell device performance, you have to tell network performance, and you have to tell server or API performance. If you are combining these three together, then your answer will be 100% perfect. Because sometimes students are just telling about, server or API performance. So they are saying, okay, we will test the response time and we will see how the APIs are behaving. So that's not the complete answer. Complete answer is you have to take network performance and device performance into the account, because most of the times in mobile apps, battery consumption is a very important factor under the performance. And in the same way, in the device performance, we are very much in the device performance, this battery consumption, and in the network performance, we are very much interested to see how application is behaving under different kind of bandwidths. So probably, I don't know, have you encountered some platforms which are crowd testing platforms, where they are asking the people to test the app. And probably if you are a part of this crowd testing platforms, you have seen some requirements. They are saying we need some testers who have this kind of bandwidth, and that's a kind of a limitation. So they are saying we want some testers who are just still using 2G and they can use the application on this particular amount of bandwidth. So why these kind of testings are done? To test the performance of the application over the network, and all these things are coming under the hood of network performance. So if anybody asks you about the performance related topics, because even if you are going as an functional automation tester, this performance kind of questions can be asked. Or even you are going as a manual tester, this kind of question can be asked, general question, that if I have given you an app and you have to test the performance, what are the three factors or indicators you will determine? So you have to tell about device performance, network performance, and server performance. Okay, let's see some another approaches. So another topic is security testing, right? Security testing is also very important for the mobile apps. And what comes under the security testing? How our data is getting secured, because anyhow we are putting some data into the app, and this data is going to be stored in the database. So how the encryption of the data files is going on, and if we have a data, then probably we have a cache data as well. So how this cache data is behaving, so how the cache data encryption is going on, that's very important. Malware scans for the app are is our app is able to perform some able to support some malware scans or not, so malware scans or not. So that's also an very important topic from security point of view. And then how app is behaving with various device permissions, because sometimes our app is looking for our location permission and some other various permissions. But how this data is going to be stored, whether this data is going to be stored in a safe way, or it's not so safe. So all these things comes under the hood of security testing. So sometimes this kind of approaches are very important when you want to test the app from security point of view. Other than these topics, we always have authentication and authorization. So these kind of things are always very important, when because every application we have some registrations, we have some login. So during these processes, how we are handling our authentication and authorization, these things are also very important. So that is security. Now coming to the another point, which is accessibility testing. What accessibility testing is? Testing is nothing else but ability of the app that it should be accessible with screen readers. And why we are testing this thing? Because there are a lot of people in this world who are having with special needs. And when these people are interacting with this applications, so they are using most of the time screen readers. And if some part of application is not available or not accessible with the help of screen readers, then we have to look into this app and make this part accessible with the screen readers. So that is known as accessibility testing. So nowadays accessibility testing is also very important for most of the organizations, because if your application is being used by some government organization or some what I can say is any organization which is working worldwide, or some NGO or something like that. So that's a very important prerequisite, that people with special needs, who are not able to see properly, who are not able to walk, who are not able to think. So this application is accessible by people of those special needs as well. And that's why we want our application to be read by screen readers, and that's why we are doing the accessibility testing. And now how this accessibility testing is being done, this is completely a different topic, and we have some tools, we have some libraries which are used for the accessibility testing. So I am not going to cover this accessibility testing completely into this course, but just giving you idea what accessibility testing is. If someone is interested that how it is being done, I can share some documentation with him or her. Okay, so if you are interested, quite interested that what accessibility testing is and how you can do it with your mobile apps, ping me. I will give you some links where you can go about the details of the tools which are used for testing the accessibility of web and mobile. But here you have to just think this thing, what accessibility testing is and why it's being done. Okay. Now coming to another part, which is external factor testing. What external factor testing is? External factor testing is a kind of testing where we are testing our mobile apps in such a way where the app can interact with external factors of our device. So this is known as external factor testing, or sometimes it's also known as external device factor testing. External device factor testing, you know because all these external factors are coming from the device. So sometime while using the app, I am at the my app is in the forefront, right? And I am having a phone call. So how this app is behaving in this case, so that comes under the external factor testing. Sometimes app is able to interact with our SD cards or some device settings. In our mobile devices we have a different kind of device setting, like for example fonts. We can increase the font size, we can decrease the font size. Volume, we can increase the volume, we can decrease the volume, right? So all these things, these are external factors. And in external factor testing, we have to test all these things, because if my app is on the forefront and some external factors are applicable to this app, then how app is behaving, that is very important. So this all things comes under the hood of external factor testing. And last is localization testing. Probably you all have some idea of the localization testing, that we are testing the app on different locales, like different languages. And these languages can be, the languages supported by our app. Okay, so it can be French, German, English, whatever. And this comes under the hood of localization testing. So more or less, these are the different kind of testing strategies, right? Localization testing, external factor testing, accessibility testing, security testing, performance testing, and device testing, usability testing, and functional testing. So if someone asks you in the interview that what approaches you have used for the mobile testing in general, or somebody is asking you what approaches you have used for the mobile testing, automation or mobile testing, manual mobile testing, then probably you have to give examples from each of them one by one. So you have to tell about the localization testing, external factor testing, accessibility, security, performance, device, usability, and functional testing. So this will make your answer very elaborative, and probably you are able to give an answer in the holistic view, complete view, and that's sometimes very important, right? So these are the approaches. Other than that, if the question is asked in such a way that if you are a mobile tester, you are going to make a mobile test plan during the planning session of the Scrum, what are the different approaches will be in your mind? What different approaches will be in your mind? So you have to give an example of these different kind of approaches, or these different kind of strategies, that these kind of strategies will be in our mind. Another question can be raised in the name of test strategies. So they will ask you, if you are a manager of a mobile app, or if you are leading the team and you have to create a test plan and you have to decide the test strategies for that test plan, what kind of different test strategies will be in your mind when you are doing the mobile testing? So these can be the different kind of test strategies: functional, usability, device testing. So these also known as types of approaches or test strategies. These are the test strategies, because test strategy means how I am going to test a particular feature, what's my strategy behind that, right? And these test strategies are always coming from the test plan, because we are mentioning all these test strategies in our test plan. So if the question is about the test strategies, or if the question is about test approaches, or it's general way, like how you can test the mobile app, what are the different kind of testing you are going to do, the answer would be the same. Is it clear for all of you?
Yes.
Perfect. Now we are going to do a small exercise. This is your test exercise, right? I am giving you 2 minutes. Please go through this exercise and then we will see the solution of this exercise. Are you able to see this?
Yes.
Okay, then perfect. I am giving you 2 minutes right now. Okay, now right now it's 2:52 in my clock. I am giving you 2 minutes. So just 2 minutes, go through it and have your answers ready, and then we will see what are the correct answers. So your time start from now. Okay, so perfect. We can start. Uh, uh, let's take these things one by one, right? And I will ask one of you about these things if you have your questions, answers handy, and then we can see if this is perfect or not. So I can start from the top of the list, okay, I can start from the top of the list, which is being displayed here. First point, mobile app should be readable with the screen readers. Bindu, what's your take?
That's a usability testing.
No. Jyoti, what's your take about this? Any idea? Okay, I think you are not
Device
prepared.
testing.
No. Monica, what's your take?
I would go for accessibility testing.
Perfect. Accessibility testing is the right answer. Perfect. Second thing, mobile app should support French, German, and Spanish. Monica, what's your take?
Localize.
Localization. Perfect. Mobile app should be compatible with Android 8, 9, and 10. Mukund.
Accessibility,
No. Mobile
Device.
app should be compatible
Device.
with
device
device.
Device
Perfect.
test-
Device testing, right?
testing.
yes, yes, sir.
Okay. App should be consuming the battery within the specified limits. Ram.
Performance.
Perfect.
Performance.
Nice.
What
App
was
should
the
support.
answer for three? I'm sorry.
Three is device, because we have different devices with the different operating systems, right? One device cannot support Android 8, 9, and 10. So the different devices with different operating systems. So that's why it's a device testing. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Fourth is app should consuming the battery. We have already talked about that. Now next is app should support microphone drivers of Logitech and Samsung. Revati.
Uh, external.
External
External.
factor.
Perfect. External factor
Yes.
testing. Very good. App should be specifically designed for the customers below 25 years old. Satya.
Accessibility testing.
Sorry?
Usability testing.
Usability testing. Perfect. Strong encryption that leverages 4096-bit SSL key, SSL keys, Shefali.
Security.
Security testing.
Security.
Perfect. Any question or any confusion between these suits? Any one of you? Which, if you need any more clarification on any point? Shrisha, Lakshmi, anything? Because I think we are not able to take your.
Can you
No, sir.
explain this one? The battery, the app should consuming the battery within the specified
Okay,
limit.
okay.
Yeah.
So I already talked about the performance testing, and under the performance testing, we are having three hoods: device performance, server performance, and network performance, right? And under the device performance, we have already seen that there can be things like battery consumption done by the app. Because if you are using an app and if it is using a lot of battery, then it is not good from performance point of view. So all these things comes under the hood of device performance, and they are the part of performance testing. Is it
Mhm.
clear now?
Yes, got it.
Okay. Anyone else? So after doing this exercise, I am assuming if somebody will ask you any question about the mobile test strategies, you are able to answer that with all the details and examples. This is the main purpose of this exercise. Clear to everyone? Okay,
Yes.
perfect. Now we switch
Yeah.
to the next topic. And this topic is about the mobile testing lifecycle. So how many of you are still working with the agile, are working with the agile model in your organization?
Me. I have
Jyoti is
worked
working.
actually. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Revti is also working. Anyone else who is also working? No, only two. Okay, okay. So because very less members have been working with the mobile, this agile model, so I have to give a very brief introduction about this thing. So what happens in the agile? In agile, we have different sprints. Like in this, you can see three sprints here, right? So this is sprint one, this is sprint two, and this is sprint three. So what sprint is? Sprint is a number of days, it's a kind of a duration in which we can prepare or we can deliver something, right? So sprint one can be of 15 days, another sprint two can be of the 15 days, and sprint three can also be of 15 days. And within these 15 days, we want to deliver something. So it can be within the 15 days, you have to create a registration form, okay, for this app. Another 15 days, they will say you have to create feature one. Feature one can be anyone, anything. If it's the e-commerce app, so they will say you have to create a wish list feature for this app. In sprint 3, they will say you have to create checkout feature for this app. So this is feature 3. So in this way, the whole agile model is working, right? So everything is divided into the sprints, and for every sprint we have some specified deliverables which we have to complete at the end of sprint. So that is the concept of sprint. So in mobile testing lifecycle, why this sprint model is very important? Because mobile testing lifecycle is anyhow associated with different phases of the sprint. Because in sprint we all have this planning phase, we all have this review phase, right? In planning phase, what we are doing, we are planning about this sprint. Okay, in review phase, whatever the deliverables, we are reviewing them, we are making some demos, right? We are making the demos in front of all the stakeholders. So these are the review phase. So based on the phases of the agile model, that this mobile testing lifecycle is also divided into different phases. So what are the different phases? The first phase is planning and scoping. Another phase is writing and execution of the tests. The third phase is track and manage the defects. And the fourth phase is review phase. So let's see these phases one by one. So first is planning and scoping. What we are doing in this phase. Okay. So in this phase, what we are doing, we are first of all taking part in the planning meetings. So planning meetings are very important from agile point of view. In if you are working for agile, so you have to take part in the planning meetings. So these meetings are being organized where the whole team is sitting and they are reviewing the features, one by one. So say for this particular sprint, I have two features, so I'm reviewing this feature one by one, and this is the motive of my planning meeting, right? So in this planning meeting, what testers have to do, if you are a tester, and if you have to test something, right? So what you have to do, you have to identify the features to be tested. You have to see on what kind of platforms this feature can be tested, what are the different kind of versions where you have to test this feature, what kind of device coverage you have to do. So if you are doing a mobile testing, you have to consider all these points under the planning meeting. Okay, you have to identify the test locations, you have to create the test plan. So all these things are being covered under the planning and the scoping session, right? So if they will say you this is the mobile feature and you have to test this mobile feature, right, and you are in the planning session, so you have to first take consideration of these kind of questions in the planning session, right? You have to create the test plans, you have to decide the test strategies. And how you can decide the test strategies? When you will know what exactly you have to do. Revti is asking a question. Is it a, let me go to the question. Revti is asking a question. Is it a sprint planning or test planning? Sprint planning, test planning, they both are the one session. You know, while you are doing the sprint planning, then developers are thinking from development point of view and testers are thinking in test point of view. So after the sprint planning, you have a sprint backlog, right? Sprint backlog is a comprises of the items which are going to be addressed in a sprint. In the same way, you also have a test plan. The testers are also making a test plan after the end of sprint planning meeting, and this test plan comprises of all these things. Okay, perfect. So this is the planning and scoping meeting where you are identifying the feature and what are the different test strategies that you can apply for this feature. So this is the task which are doing in the planning meeting, you know, in the planning and scoping phase of the testing, right? Another phase is writing of the test cases. So once planning is done, what you have to do in the test life cycle, you have to write some test cases. You have to write the manual test cases, you have to write the automated test cases. Okay, and once these test cases are written and once the the app, the feature of the app which is developed is delivered to you, you have to execute these test cases on different devices, or whatever you have decided in the planning phase, you have to execute these test cases on those devices, on those operating systems, or on those platforms. Under the execution phase, you also have to decide that test strategy. Example, you know, the execution strategy of the automation test case, that you want to execute the automation test case in your own lab, or you have to decide you have to execute those automation test cases on the cloud. So I have already talked a bit, I already gave you some knowledge that there are some cloud platforms like Sauce Labs, Perfecto Mobile. So you have to decide these kind of test strategies. And during this phase, V is asking a question. Who is V? I don't know the full name. So
Sorry,
please write your full names. Initial sometimes not working. If
my name is
requirements are keep on changing, should we change the test plan accordingly? Yes. Test plan is not a static object. It's a dynamic object. You have to change the test plan from time to time. And sometimes it's also like that in some projects you have test plans and test strategies. So what they are doing, they are keeping the test plan as a static document on a very high level, and then test strategies on a lower level. So if requirements are changing, they are changing the test strategy document. So it depends how these things are configured from organization to organization. But yes, these documents are not static. You have to change them from time to time. If it's a test strategy document and something new is encountered, you have to change it, right? And if you have incorporated the test strategies in specifically in a test plan, so you have to change the test plan in that case. Okay, is it clear to you?
I have little confusion about the test plan and
Perfect.
test strategy you said.
Okay, so the second phase is for writing and execution of the test, where you have to execute the test cases, manual test cases, automation test cases, you know, decide the execution strategies for the automation. Then you have to keep the track of the results. Whatever the results you are getting, you have to keep a track of those results. And then you have to maintain the automation suites, and you have to prepare the traceability metrics. So all these things are done under the execution and the writing and execution of the test cases phase, which is known as phase 2. Coming to the third phase, which is track and manage defects. So in this phase, what you are doing, so till now you have written the test cases, right? And you have executed the test cases. What are the defects? Defects are the deviations where our expected execution is not as actual execution. There's a deviance or deviation between the actual and expected. So these are the defects, right? And what we are doing in this phase, we are tracking the defects, we are logging the defects, we are giving the defects proper severity, and we are doing the regression and retesting. So all these things are done in phase 3, which is track and manage defects. Okay. While giving the severity, you have to consider low, medium, high, and blocker. So this is the standard definition of low, high, medium, blocker severities. But this definition can change from organization to organization. There is not a very hard yardstick by which you can decide. So always the severity comes from the conscious of tester, how my feeling about the defect is, and severity is always given by the testers. Mosme is asking a question. We will use okay, let me answer this question and see this question. We will use Java only or any other language for the mobile app testing? So mobile app testing, if you are a manual tester, you don't need any language. But if you are writing the automation scripts, you can use any of the language, because most of the tools, they are coming with a variety of choices. So you can use Java, you can use C#. In Appium also, it's a variety of choices which is available. Ruby, C#, Java, whatever you want to use, you can use. Okay.
But what
So I
language
think
are
your
we going?
answer, your question is also answered.
But in this session, like what language are we going to use?
So perfectly fine. So another phase is track and manage defects. Okay, this is the third phase. And last phase is the review phase. What we are doing in the review phase, we are taking part in the demos. So whatever I have tested, I am giving demos to all the stakeholders. Sometimes these demos are also given by the developers, because what they have developed and what the testers tested, sometimes it's provided by the developer. So it depends. Sometimes developers are giving this demo and sometimes testers are giving this demo. It's very subjective and vary from one organization to another organization. In the review phase, we are also making the record of the results, on what devices and what. In this course, what we are going to, okay, there's another question.
Yeah, that's what I was about to ask. Like what
In this
language
course,
we
what
are
we
going
are
to use?
going to use in Appium, is it Java? Yes, we are going to use Java. Okay. So in the review phase, we are doing the functional coverage, we are doing the non-functional coverage reports, we are presenting our reports, and we are giving the final recommendation. Testers are giving their final recommendation that whether it's a go or no go, and we are at the end, we are going to prepare the testing matrices. So this is something about the test life cycle, 4 phases: review phase, okay, track and manage defects phase, writing and execution of the test phase, and planning and scoping phase. So if somebody asks you in interview that what are the mobile test life cycle, what are the different phases of the mobile test life cycle, you have to explain these 4 phases. Okay, so what you have to explain: first, managing and scoping. You are managing and scoping the requirements, then writing the execution. There's another question. I think you are not getting our voice. Can you unmute? No, actually, in this session, I can't unmute. I will take the questions at the end, because I really don't want the voices here right now. Otherwise, it will be too much disturbance. Okay. So at the end, I will unmute and we can have the questions. Okay. Can we do 100% automation in Appium? What do you mean by 100% of automation? It's a subjective thing. So 100% can never be automated in any application. There must be something which is manual. That's why it's always a combination of manual and automation testing. So 100% automation cannot be applicable in any project. Perfectly fine. So these are the 4 phases, right? And based on these 4 phases, our mobile test lifecycle is running. So whenever somebody asks you about the mobile test lifecycle, you have to explain about these 4 phases. Now again, a question of the it's a time for the test exercise. So you can see some question here, and there's another one question. Shrisha, go to phase 4, yes. Test matrices, yes. What you want to ask about the test matrices? What is it? Test matrices is nothing. It's a just kind of a report. So there can be a lot of test matrices report. One example can be how many tests are failed, how many tests are passed. So what you are doing in the test matrices, you are making certain kind of graphs like pie chart or something like that. So you can represent a pie chart in which you can say 75% of my test cases are getting passed and 25% of my test cases are getting failed. This kind of test summary reports, right? So this kind of test matrices. So this can be the one example of test matrices. Another kind of example of the test matrices is if you have find 10 defects, right? So how these defects, from which areas these defects are coming. So you can say 2 defects are coming from registration, 3 defects are coming from feature 1, and 5 defects are coming from feature 2, something like that. So these are the test summary reports, right? Okay, now let's quickly move to the question which we are having another exercise, and just read it and then we will do it cumulatively. Okay, so I'm giving you 1 minute time. Just go through the question and try to solve it. So are you done with this question? Shall we go to the answers?
Can you give us another minute, please?
Sheetal says yes. Okay. Okay, then let's start. First thing, acceptance criteria verification. We are doing it in which phase?
Review.
Okay, Monica is saying, can you give another minute? Okay, I am just giving you another 30 seconds and then we have to see it. Take your time. Perfect, let's start. So acceptance criteria verification, which phase is this? Sheetal is saying review. Revati, are you
Yes.
agree with this thing? Revati is saying yes. Perfectly fine.
Yes, review.
Yes, this is the review phase. Acceptance criteria identifications. Which phase is this?
Planning.
Planning and scoping.
Sheetal is saying planning. Shrisha is
And
saying planning.
scoping.
Yes, that's perfectly fine. It's planning and scoping session. Okay, perfect. Uh, Then another one is assigning the defect severity. Which phase is this? Defect tracking.
Defect
Yes,
tracking
perfectly
and
fine.
management.
You can also unmute yourself. If you want to say something, then probably you can unmute yourself. It's possible to unmute. So rather disregard of this thing that I will unmute you all. If you want to say this answer, you can unmute yourself. Now, next question will be from Lakshmi. Alpha and beta test. What do you think about that?
Executing and writing the test. No, it should be review also.
And beta
Review.
should be.
No response?
Review.
Review.
executing and writing the test
Defect tracking and
Writing the test case.
Writing the test.
It's severity. It's review testing.
I'm not getting any voice from any of you.
Can you hear us?
Okay, I think there's some problem in the voice. Vijay is saying review, Monica is saying review, alpha and beta test. Yes, they are the part of review. And finally, traceability matrix design. Which phase?
It's review.
Review.
Yes, I can't hear you. I
Review.
can't hear you. I don't know what's the problem.
Executing and test cases.
Traceability matrix design, this is not the part of review, but rather it's a part of traceability matrix design. We are we are executing and writing the test
Executing
case. So
and
when we are
writing the
executing
test
and writing the
cases.
test case, at the same time we have to ensure that all the requirements what we are having should be converted into the test cases, and that's why traceability matrix design is very much related with executing and writing the test cases. Okay, perfectly fine. Anyone having confusion in this? No, everything is clear. That's perfectly fine. Let's move to another question. Test exercise 2. I think you are able to see it on your screen. I am giving you 1 minute. Just have a look on it.
My installation app, the Android application crashes.
Okay, everyone is done? Yes, everyone is done. Okay, now we can see these answers. While installing app on Android 9, application crashes. What kind of severity it is?
High severity.
Hi, sir.
Please, can you change the text of the color to blue?
It's a
Revati is asking, please, can you
high
change the text
severity.
color
It's
to
a
the blue?
blocker.
Okay. What kind of text color, Revati, you are asking for? It is very light. Okay, I will change it to the bold. You know, right now it's a PDF document. I can't change it, but next time I will keep this thing in mind that I will change it. Okay, so first thing is while installing the app on Android 9, application crashes. Somebody are saying it's high, somebody are saying it's low. Who is saying this low? Vijay, to everyone. Vijay, it's not low.
the
How you can
showstopper.
define a crash as a low? No, it's not. Mosmi is also saying no, it can't be low. Everybody is saying high. Only Ram is saying blocker. Monica is saying blocker. Answer is it's blocker. It's critical. It cannot be high. You know, it can be high, but appropriate answer is it's blocker. Whenever you are encountering an application crash during installation of the application, it means if it is not getting installed on your device, you can't do anything. It's certainly a critical or a blocker defect in your application. So it cannot be low. How it can be low? Because if it is low, then what's the high or what's the critical? You know, this cannot be low. This is blocker or critical. Next thing is in a home page of the application, text boxes alignments are not appropriate. Shrisha, can you define it? Can you try to say something? And now we can see we are able to hear. I'm able to hear your voice, Shrisha.
Okay, low, sir. Number 2 is low.
I am again not able to hear anything. What's the problem? Okay, perfectly fine.
Low severity.
Let's see. In the homepage of the application, text of alignments, it's low because whenever you are encountering a bug related with the alignments or something like that, it's always low. So can you unmute from your side? I've already did it. I have unmuted everyone from my side. Next thing is application workflow for completing registration is blocked without any workaround possible. What kind of bug is that? It's a blocker.
High.
It's high.
Blocker. It's a
Everybody is saying
blocker.
yes.
High.
It can be
Yeah,
blocker or high, but
blocker.
usually we are putting it in a high because usually the blockers are coming from the application crashes. So that's why it's high. Blocker or high, like you can say it depends from organization to organization. There is no strict yard line. Usually blockers or criticals are the crashes and other things, once you are able to install application, but some other thing which is a very major workflow that's not working, you seems to be high. But blocker high, both I can take both as a correct answers. The only differentiation varies from organization to organization. Last one is one API which is consumed. Oh no. One API which is consumed by the app is not providing any response. Okay.
Hmm.
But customers have some workaround which is possible. It's medium. Everybody is saying
Medium.
it's medium. It's perfectly
Me-
fine. Jyoti is saying
It's
medium.
medium.
Mosmi, Vijay. Everybody is saying it's medium. That's perfectly fine. Now, any question while assigning the severity of the bugs? Any question in this, or it's clear to all of you? Okay. Everybody is saying it's clear. Now switch to the last topic for the day, which is mobile development lifecycle. So what mobile development lifecycle is? Mobile development lifecycle is nothing else but it's a kind of a cycle which developers are following. So it's quite similar to the the testing life cycle phases, or what you can say the agile kind of agile kind of views. SDLC, yes, SDLC is also very similar to that, right? So first you have to do the requirements gathering. Once you have the requirements, you have to do planning. This is the planning phase. After planning, you have to do a technical documentation where you are documenting the things. Then you have to make the design or the prototype of something. Then you have to do the code development, which is the task of development. Then you have to do the functional testing. Then you have to do the performance testing, and at the end you have to verify the acceptance test. So this is part of kind of a review. Acceptance tests are part of the review. So for example, assume that all these activities are going in a one phase of the agile sprint, right? So in this mobile development lifecycle, if we study it from agile point of view, and if we are thinking all these things are going in hand by hand in one sprint, so what are the part of the planning phase? So in the planning phase, we will do requirement gathering. Okay, we will do planning, we will prepare the technical documentation, we will prepare the technical design. So all these four phases, they comes under the hood of planning, where developers and testers both are planning about the things. Okay, so when I'm talking about the gathering the requirements, so these requirements are coming from business owners, and then under this planning, developers are doing the planning from code point of view, testers are doing the planning from testing point of view. When I'm coming to the technical documentation, developers are making the technical documentation from development point of view, testers are making the technical documentation from testing point of view. And when we are talking about the design, so it's kind of a low level design, or the architecture, low level architecture of the system which developers are making, right? So these all things are coming under the hood of planning. Okay. And when I'm saying about code development, functional testing, performance testing, and optimization, all these three things, they are the part of execution and test cases designing, writing and execution of test cases. So in the same way, there's a phase for the developers where they have to execute and write their code. So this phases, these all three phases are can be associated with the second phase of the mobile test life cycle, where we are executing and maintaining and writing our test cases. So all these things, this is the part of the second phase. And then acceptance test, this is the part of the review, right? So in this way, you can also see that these phases which we talked about, planning phase, execution phase, and review phase of the agile life cycle, of the agile methodology, they are also the part of mobile development life cycle. So mobile development life cycle in terms of agile is nothing but the combination of all these phases of agile. When all these phases are put together, we get this mobile development life cycle, right? So right now we are doing this thing in the agile point of view in terms of sprint. So how this thing is happening to the sprint? So in every sprint you have this planning phase where you are doing all those four things. Then you have execution phase where you are doing all those things, and then you have a review phase where you are doing acceptance criterias, or you are validating the acceptance criterias, or you are making the demos. So this is in the nutshell of mobile development lifecycle. But from testing point of view, nobody is going to ask you about the mobile development lifecycle. They will just ask you mobile testing lifecycle and how this mobile testing lifecycle can be associated with the agile. So even you are going for the automation interview, you are working as an automation tester. Even the automation tester, being an automation tester, you are integrated with an agile team and you have to work in an agile manner, right? So that's why this mobile test life cycle and its the different phases of mobile test life cycle and its correlation with this agile planning, that's very important. Because anyhow, if you are going for automation tester interview, there will be one question which is asked on agile related things, that what are the different phases of mobile test lifecycle and how these phases are associated with agile. So you have to give the example of planning, scoping, writing execution test cases, track, manage defects, and review, right? And in the same way, sometimes they can ask mobile development lifecycle also, but you have knowledge of these kind of different phases, and you also have to explain, or you have to, this should be clear in your mind that all how all these phases coming together in an agile phase can be associated with agile manner or agile methodology. So here you can also see they have mentioned the agile phases, right? So requirements, it's a agile phase. Requirements is also known as planning and controlling kind of agile phase. Development is also agile phase. In development, you have to do the code development, test development, and test development, and in the testing, testing is kind of also agile phase, which is also known as review. So we have learned it as a review. So these are the agile phases, and these are the software development life cycle phases, and the correlation between these phases can be found here. Clear to everyone? Please, can you explain the agile life cycle in mobile testing again? Agile life cycle is nothing, agile, I can explain you. So this is agile life cycle, where what we are doing, we are delivering any product or anything in terms of sprints. So this is sprint 1, this is sprint 2, and sprint 3. And usually these sprint comprises of 15 days or 2 weeks. Usually they are comprised of 15 days or 2 weeks. So what we are doing in these 2 weeks, we are doing all the agile activities under the hood of three things. First is planning. Mosby is saying 2 to 3 weeks. It's vary from organization to organizations. In some organizations for 2 weeks, in some 3, but usually I am taking it for 2 weeks. So what we are doing planning, then we are doing execution, and then we are reviewing. So this is the fundamental of the agile life cycle. Planning means we have to plan something. So when we read about the mobile testing life cycle, what we are planning this in agile, in this agile phase, we are planning about the test strategies, we are planning about our test. I all told you all these activities which are the part of planning. Execution means we are executing something. So whatever we have planned in this phase, in the execution phase, we are going to execute all those things. So this is planning, this is execution, and at the end we have review. So review means we have to validate the acceptance criteria. So we have to give the reviews in demos or something in the front of all the stakeholders. So review are the long meetings, where all the people used to sit in one room, and then either one person from the development side or tester sides, they are explaining what they have made and how they have tested. So these are planning, execution, and review. This is the part of the agile life cycle. And we can see that mobile test life cycle and mobile development life cycle, all these life cycles are based on these three phases and somehow correlate with these three phases. This is the basic criteria. Clear? Vijay, can you explain the difference between planning and strategy? It was not clear. Now I am taking the questions. Can you explain the difference between planning and strategy? I was not clear with you explaining earlier. Okay, what is test planning and what is test strategy? Test planning and test strategies, these are two activities which are associated with the planning phase. So sometimes what you are doing, you are making a test plan. You are making a test plan and you are defining what is the scope, what needs to be tested, what at what time it should be tested, who are testing it, what is the schedule, what are the risks. These all things you are doing in a planning. Sometimes you are also making a strategy. So strategy means if you want to test a particular scope of this feature, what are the different test techniques you are using for it? So for example, if you have to define the mobile test strategy, you have to explain it. What are the different type of techniques which are going to be the part of this particular feature testing? So test technique means localization testing or device testing or feature testing, performance, whatever. So all these things comes under the hood of test strategy. Test plan is always a high level of document and test strategy is lower level of document, right? Test plan is prepared by the test manager. Yes, mostly they are, both are somehow managed by the test managers. So it's always like that. Test plan high level document and test strategy low level document, and mostly they are decided by the test managers or test leads. So planning is the first and then strategy will come later. Yes, exactly. First you have to make the test plans, or you have to plan, because first you have to plan what needs to be tested. What are the features you are going to test? What is out of the scope? What is in the scope? What are the timelines? Okay, who are going to participate in this? What are the risks which can be encountered? These are the part of planning. So once you know what you are going to test, what particular feature is under the scope, then you can decide the test strategies for that. Then you can say, okay, this is the feature, I have to test the registration flow. So you have to check, okay, this registration flow, shall I have to test it on Android 8, 9, 10, all these things, or shall I have to do the performance testing? Shall I have to do security testing? All these kind of things are coming to your mind. Then you can apply the test strategies. So that's particular fine, that first we have to do plan, then we have to strategize. Both are dynamic documents. Yes, both are dynamic documents, but usually test strategy document is more dynamic than the test plan, because in test strategies you have to update it from time to time. If there's a change in a feature, then based on that test strategy is also changing. And test plan is also dynamic because sometimes there's a difference in schedule, or there's a more risk which are encountered. So yeah, both are dynamic documents. So that's all for today's session. Any question, please write on the chat session. But I'm still Kumar, will you provide this PPT and recorded videos? I am not Kumar, first of all. So Kumar sir is Isha, the founder of Isha Training Solutions. So we are the individual trainers who are associated with that. So my name is displayed as Kumar because I am using this Isha Training Solutions platform. Okay. PPT and recorded videos, yes. So, and you can collaborate with Anita. Anita will be providing you all this kind of stuff. But this documentation, so this is my proprietary documentation, so you can just follow all these things from the video. I am not going to share this particular documentation because this is something uh, which is a proprietary documentation for me. But you can always see what's happening in the video, and interview questions I am going to provide, and some other documentation which you need, that's also I'm going to provide. Monica, okay, I have answered this question. Shefali, do you provide technical help if you have something? Yes, it's possible. So if you are getting stuck in something and you don't have the workaround, I can provide you technical help. Other than that, when we go to the Appium part, I will try to make the groups of all of you. So you know how many people we are having, it depends on there, and then I've tried to group them to something like that. So you can always have a chance to ask the questions from yourselves first of all within the group, and then I can also help you from time to time. Will you provide the interview questions? Yes, I can provide the interview questions. And for today's topic also, we have to go through some of the interview questions. So I think the time is exceeded, 5 minutes already exceeded, but let's go through the interview question one by one very quickly. So these are the interview questions for the day 2 and day 4, right? So first question is, what are the various mobile testing approaches which you want to use in the project? Already answered. All these mobile test strategies we already covered. What is device testing? Why it's important? Device testing is, testing something on different devices, that we already covered. And why it is important? Because we are not sure if the application is working on Android 8, how it is working on Android 9, 10, 11, something like that. So all these things can be covered with the help of device testing. That's why device testing is important. Question number 3, while testing the performance of the mobile app, what parameters need to be considered? I already answered that. Device performance, server performance, network performance. We already have this explanation. If it is not clear, please go through the video. Explain concept of accessibility testing. Accessibility testing is a kind of testing which is done for the people who are with special needs, right? So I already explained the accessibility testing concept. Please go through the videos. While creating a test plan for a mobile app, what are the key strategies that will be included? So key strategies are nothing but the different kind of testing techniques which we want to include. Performance testing, security testing, device testing, external factor testing, all these things can be the key strategies. How mobile testing lifecycle? Okay, this is something wrong. It's what is mobile testing lifecycle? What are the key phases? Key phases we already know: planning, control, execution, review, and defect logging. These are the key phases of the mobile testing lifecycle, right? What's the traceability matrix? What's its advantage? Traceability matrix is nothing else. It's a kind of a document where we can match the requirements with the test cases. Advantage is by the traceability matrix we can be assured that all the requirements are converted into test cases. That's the advantage. Do you know about the battery doctor app, why it is used? Just go through the battery doctor app by your own. It's being used for checking the battery performance of the apps. It's nothing else. So sometimes they are asking, when they are asking about the battery consumption or battery utilization, so they are asking about, do you know some app which is used for testing the performance or the battery capabilities of any particular app? So you can just ask battery doctor app, but also see the description or also try to play around it. Give one example of the critical severity, especially for the mobile apps. Crashes are always critical for mobile apps, whether they are with the installation or something else, but they are always critical. Difference between priority and severity, already explained. So we are already 5 minutes ahead. In the last, I will try to take some more questions. Okay, will you provide the interview questions? Okay, that's answered. Can we have Anita's number contact? This number is already in the group, I think so. For how long we can access the videos? I think for more than a year. Anything else? If not, then thank you very much for the session, and yeah, have a nice day. Bye.